As Farmers Month draws to a close, we express our gratitude to all our farmers for nurturing the land, growing the food, and rearing livestock. We appreciate you contributing to making Jamaica a sustainable place to live, work, raise families, and do business. Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Jamaica Magazine. I am your host, Audrey Williams. We have a great package lined up for you today. We look at the production of a specific product that has brought Jamaican culture to the world while highlighting our youth who are gaining traction in food cultivation. All this and more when we return after the news.
Hi Jamaica, this is Pernell Charles Jr., your Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries. April is recognized as Farmers Month, and that's the time for us to celebrate our noble, hardworking and resilient farmers and fishers. Our food heroes have led Jamaica through some of the most difficult times. Whether it is pandemic, global conflict or climate change, you have continued to persist and exceed expectations. So we want to thank you for 7 consecutive quarters of growth in the agricultural sector, and assure you that the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries will continue to give the necessary support so that you can continue to be the food heroes that you are. Farming is viable and food security is everybody's business. So, as we celebrate Farmers Month, we want to urge all Jamaicans to get on board and grow smart and eat smart. Remember, one love.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Friday, April 28, 2023. Government will be spending more on social programs in the next fiscal year to ensure that Jamaica's most vulnerable and poor are protected. Prime Minister Andrew Holness gave that commitment on Wednesday. He says the COVID-19 pandemic wreaked havoc and brought untold hardships on the lives of many Jamaicans, especially the less fortunate, and government has an obligation to assist.
I want to take this opportunity to therefore commit the administration to doing more in the upcoming, in the next budget. We have increased this budget as well, but in the budget to come, we must make a special effort to focus resources on the most vulnerable and the poor in the country.
He says the government has to deliberately ramp up its funding support to help the poor recover their consuming income, which has been wiped out due to inflation caused by the pandemic.
So your government is actively thinking about that strategy, and hopefully when we come to read our next budget, we will have some good news in that budget about how we're going to support our most vulnerable who have been impacted, but in tangible ways. Not just unconditional cash transfers.
The Prime Minister was speaking at the opening of a new male ward at the Westmoreland Infirmary, which has a capacity to house 50 residents. Another 2-bedroom unit has been delivered under the government's new social housing program, NSHP. Prime Minister Andrew Holness handed over the unit in Roaring River, Westmoreland on Wednesday. The unit's beneficiary, who is physically disabled and requires the assistance of his nephew to move around, celebrated moving out of a dilapidated structure to the new home. During the ceremony, Prime Minister Holness expressed pleasure with the advancement that have been made through the program towards improving the lives of citizens. While acknowledging the need for more, he reiterated that the government would continue working to ensure that all Jamaicans have access to the amenities necessary for a good quality of life.
That is the reality of this program. We are trying to attend to the most vulnerable. This program, by virtue of the systems that we have put in place, we have identified them and we're fairly satisfied.
Government will not be mandating water harvesting at this time. Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Senator Matthew Samuda, made the statement at this week's post-cabinet media briefing. He says while water harvesting is going to play a critical role in building Jamaica's water resilience going forward, this will not be mandated at this stage.
Acknowledging where we are with the changing climate, rainwater harvesting is something that the government intends to do through its public buildings. It's something that the government intends to do in all areas where the utility footprint does not extend to, and it is something that the government will be encouraging significantly.
Mr. Samuda, however, explains that guidelines about the issue will be ready in the next 2 months.
The country is nearing completion on its guidelines, which would be gazetted on rainwater harvesting, which would provide guidance to planning authorities and developers alike. We expect that those guidelines to be complete within the next 30 to 60 days, and then the appropriate sensitization to be done with all of our planning officers.
Meanwhile, the National Water Commission, NWC, has reactivated several wells to mitigate against the impact of the meteorological drought affecting the island. President of the Commission, Mark Barnett, gave that update during this week's post-cabinet media briefing at Jamaica House.
Our other major facilities, Martha Brae, Great River, are working. Bogue and St. Ann are not affected. However, our Lagwood facility that serves most of Negril and the eastern section, let's say the western section of Hanover, I was just about to confuse the direction, would have seen variability in raw water supply. We went down to about 50%. We got some rain. We went back up to about 70%, and we are just about there as it is now.
Mr. Barnett says the country saw only minimal improvement at both the Hermitage and Mona storage facilities following recent rainfall.
At the Hermitage Dam, we move up to about 40%, 40.8, just about 41%. We had gone down to just about 30% of stored volume. And at Mona, we are just about 43% of volume. Again, most of the supply, most of the surface sources have not shown the level of improvement, even with the rainfall that we would have received, and therefore the level of rise in those facilities is a direct function of what happens within those watershed areas.
In other news, the Ministry of Health and Wellness is reporting that the Pfizer vaccine is now available in the country for booster doses. The country received a donation of 80,640 doses of the vaccine from the government of Latvia. These doses are available to members of the public who have been fully vaccinated and are now due a booster dose. Persons who fit the criteria are encouraged to visit any of the over 120 vaccination sites to receive their booster dose of Pfizer. At the same time, the ministry continues to administer the Johnson & Johnson and Sinopharm vaccines to persons 18 years and older. Members of the public are encouraged to get vaccinated to protect themselves from severe illness, hospitalization, and/or death associated with COVID-19. In recent weeks, the country has seen an increase in respiratory infections, and this has been attributed to the COVID-19 virus, together with influenza B, influenza A, and respiratory syncytial virus RSV. Members of the public are also encouraged to take the flu vaccine. And finally, the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, will be hosting a public exposition from May 11 to 14 at Kingston's National Arena. The event, dubbed Transformations, People, Quality and Technology PQT Expo, is billed as a watershed moment for the JCF. It is intended to provide a public display that emphasizes technology-enabled quality management reforms and transformation. Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge of Development and Logistics, Kevin Blake, says the expo promises to allow persons to see and feel the JCF in a way they never have before.
The expo is going to be an immersive one, very interactive and high-tech environment. And we want Jamaicans from all walks of life to experience a side of the JCF that they don't see every day. And over time, this side of Jamaica and this what they experience, our intent is to make that become the Jamaican public's lived experience.
Senior Superintendent of Police Gary Francis says the JCF is eager to demonstrate some of the innovations developed by members of the force.
We'll be having over 25 of our formations, displaying various gadgets of how we deliver service. We'll be seeing displays from the Public Safety Enforcement Branch that showcase how best we are using technology, using the e-ticketing system, or they're using their speed radar.
The expo will feature displays put on by the Marine Division, K-9 Division, Special Operations Unit, Community Safety and Security Branch, Video Identification Unit, and other groups. It is free to the public and opens at 9 a.m. each day. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
Planting, harvesting, processing, grading, and sorting are all steps towards taking Jamaica's own coffee beans to a point where we can all appreciate the vibrant taste. Without further ado, let's hear from one of our coffee experts.
Everything in nature speaks, and it's for us to appreciate nature's dialect. The chirping of the birds, the whispers of the trees. A sound of life, a sound of earth's delight.
It's in the discovery of the essence of life that we get to partake in the nation's offspring. It's coffee, the signature taste of Jamaica.
Coffee morning. I get up like 4:30 in the morning, 4:30, pretty early. First thing I do, I give the Creator thanks for waking me up, right? And then I pack my little bag and I head to the farm. Once you're in the farm, you connect with nature, right? Just like how the plants grow, that's the spirit that you have. I'm Stephen Hibbert, CEO of Exotic Blue Coffee Company, also the farmer of Exotic Blue Coffee Farm. Agriculture is a way of life for us who live in the mountain. Hence, I decided on going into coffee, and the reason for that, I have a full-time job, a job that takes me all over the island, right? Sometimes internationally as well. So I had to plant something that I don't have to be nurturing like a baby, 365 days a year. Hence, coffee was my dream call, and I grabbed it with both hands. You look on the stages of coffee. The coffee becomes white, that's the flowering. Then it becomes green, that's the berries start to form, and you're watching, that's a little baby growing up, and then the coffee's turning red, it's ripe. And then it goes straight to the processing, and then from the processing to the consumer. What other joy there is.
Pause. How about taking us through the process?
I bring coffee to you from the seed to the cup. What do I mean? The coffee is planted, I planted the coffee, right? Once the coffee is planted and nurtured and start to produce in about 2 years' time, the coffee is now processed. So once it is reaped, it is taken from the farm. And when we take it from the farm, it weighs 60 pounds. So just to take that out on your head, right? The passion in navigating those mountains, those slopes, right? Those 60-degree slopes. When coffee is planted, especially when they're young, it has to be grown under certain shades. So your shade cover can't be that too dense. So we normally plant bananas planting throughout the field. And once it reaches a certain stage, when the coffee reaches like a 3-year-old, we can start to remove those bananas from the farm. The banana also takes the nutrients away from the coffee. So hence we don't really plant and keep the bananas into the farm. Most farmers are really suffering from that. Right, you have the sooter mole, you have the white flies, leaf miner, and so on. But the critical one is the coffee berry borer. These are some little weevil that lays hundreds of eggs into the coffee. So field sanitation is crucial to mitigate against such. And we can use like chemicals and so on, but I move away from the chemical. I try to go the natural way. So what I do is set some traps in the farm to trap those berry borers. And also use field sanitation. Ensure that the dry coffee comes off the tree and the earth is dug up and they are buried, right? That's how I mitigate against the coffee berry borer. But there are real pests to the coffee. Now the coffee is now taken where it is processed, which is washed, pulped and dry. The drying process takes you sometimes 3 weeks to dry, sometimes 4 weeks, based on the weather or the temperature in the mountains here. Once the coffee is now dry, it is rested. It stays in the storeroom for 8 weeks, minimum 8 weeks. After it is rested, it is now hulled, which is goes to another machine. The machine cleans up the coffee and then it is graded. Once this roast, we now grind and I can give you a different style of roast based on what the consumer wants.
There's the Italian roast, the Turkish roast, the city and full city roasts, the dark roast, and the medium roast. It is ultimately entirely up to you to decide on the roast that best suits your palate.
The coffee is then packaged and delivered. 2 years ago, we weren't making any money out of coffee, right? Because I used to sell my coffee to the processors, right? And there are a number of processors in Jamaica. It's hard work, very, very hard work. You have to be dedicated to be a coffee farmer. Sometimes the price is not right? But you still have to dig deep and bring good coffee to the consumer. Sometimes when your consumer call you, your customer call you and say, this coffee is the bomb. It gives you that energy, so you want to go more. Jamaica is prized, the coffee is prized, and you are a part of that process. It gives you that spirit inside of you to go further. I would encourage young people to get involved in farming, get involved in coffee. Now, the more people we get in coffee, we can produce more coffee to send to the globe. It is a sought after coffee. It's one of the best coffee in the world right now. Jamaica Blue Mountain coffee.
It's that deep, rich coffee flavor.
That is the signature of Jamaica.
Calling all farmers and fisher folk, the Agricare insurance plan enrollment period is now open until May 31st.
We have an open enrollment period generally of the plan where members are able to enroll without any medical evidence of insurability.
Farmers and fisher folk up to age 75 who are registered with RADA or the National Fisheries Authority are eligible to enroll.
There's still a lot of opportunity for persons to enroll, and I think we need to ensure that we're making persons more aware of the products and the plans that are available, because something is available for everyone.
You can determine between health, life or critical insurance plans based on importance and affordability. Enrollment is from March 1st to May 31st each year. Visit the nearest Sagicor location or website to sign up. The Agricare Insurance Plan, a partnership of the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries and Sagicor Life Jamaica.
One cocoa full basket, a generational insight that defines the method that leads to proper success. Against that backdrop, our next feature will demonstrate how an institution is aiming to fill its basket by involving the current generation, a sure method to secure success.
Our future is being planted and nurtured in a school known for producing long-serving teachers for our educational system. But before getting in the classroom, a teacher first has to grow through real-world experiences and purposeful integration of theory and practice to develop the habit of teacher-like thinking.
We believe in the development of the wholesome man at Shortwood, and this activity will help to develop that wholesomeness. So they'll be exposed to skills and competencies that they can take away and that can complement their teaching career as they leave this noble institution to go and serve the world.
And to serve the global community, the understanding is to know the practice of planting, reaping, and waiting for harvesting, a skill that, while challenging, leads to patience.
There's no success without challenge, and you have to overcome it at some point in your life. It is good to set yourself a goal do not let any individuals, direct you off that path with negative thoughts. So it is best to just keep focused on one thing, and then you just see where that goes.
Also, your input influences your output. This means that the more we care for the crops, the more we'll gain a greater yield.
The farm at Shortwood Teachers College is nothing new. We started a farm in about 2006, thereabouts. At that time, I should say, we did grow different plants, and our current farm manager was one of the students engaged in that back then.
And with his gained experiences, he returned to the institution to plant the seed for sustainable development through food cultivation.
One of the first things I did was to do a needs assessment. What are the vegetables that we utilize in the canteen? And so we ensure that whatever we have, we supply the canteen so we don't need to get those food items externally. Currently we have pumpkin, as you're seeing here, I have one in my hand. We have tomato, we have corn, we have pak choy, Scotch bonnet pepper, cucumber, cocoa, we have dasheen, and we'd have also planted sweet pepper in the past. We have green bananas currently, and we also have plantains.
I know that Shortwood Teachers College and the Ministry of Education and Youth, we've been strengthening our relationships over the years, over the decades. Please continue to do so. There's a lot of work ahead of us. Still transformation, much transformation ahead of us. And we are going to need our teachers' colleges to be with us lockstep in terms of that transformation.
Beyond imparting knowledge, cultivating and supporting students' growth also depends on the knowledge and abilities gained through tilling the soil to set roots deep enough for students to not only thrive, but do so without breaking.
While we seek to make Jamaica a desirable place to live sustainably, we must also adhere to the laws of the nation. Pedestrians, listen up.
Pedestrians, it is only safe to cross this designated part of the road if you follow the road rules. Never attempt to cross before the indication is given, and do not try to beat the oncoming traffic which has the green light.
You have overhead bridges, and overhead bridges are safe areas that are provided for pedestrians to cross. What we are seeing are pedestrians dashing across dual carriageways and then leaping over concrete medians. That is a no-no. We have had persons who have lost their lives doing that. And I am now appealing to pedestrians to do the right thing and access the overhead bridges that are provided in order to save your own life.
Where there is no overhead bridge or crossing sign, use the pedestrian crossing with caution. Monitor the lights and cross when it's safe to do so. That is a dangerous practice and a 99.9% chance of this happening.
The amount of kinetic energy that comes on your body, that is going to determine whether or not you survive.
There are several signs. Road signs are the language of the road. You have informational signs, directional signs, warning signs, and you have enforcement signs. Enforcement signs are erected upright or those that are drawn on the road surface. For example, you have stop sign, one-way sign, and it points in the direction where the one-way is. No U-turn, no parking, no right turn, no entry, a number of signs. If there's no sign that are erected upright, you will see yellow markings painted on curb walls. That constitute no parking, and you should not park in those areas. You park where white painting is drawn on those curb walls. Those are areas where parking is permitted. You have continuous white lines that are drawn on road surface. No motorist should drive to the right of a continuous white line. There are some other signs, especially like along Knutsford Boulevard, where the dual carriageway is, but there is any elevated median. You see something looking like a zebra crossing. Those crossing depicts a median, but a median that is not elevated. On the approach of a traffic light, for example, Halfway Tree Road, Chelsea Avenue, by GIS there is no filter light. You are to obey the light, and whenever you get green, you are to proceed. These lights are so configured that they allow for a pedestrian to cross. So when that red light is on, pedestrians are crossing. So that's why a filter light is not put in. When approaching a roundabout, you are to yield to the person to the right. Right? Always allow for that person to go first. A similar thing with a yield sign, a give way sign. You are to yield to the person and allow that person to proceed. If you happen to overtake, you are to do so if the way is clear, and once you complete that maneuver, you are to get back to the left lane and remain there. We have persons anticipating the light. You have those that are anticipating the green, and even before the green comes on, they are off. And you have others who are beating the amber in order to go by as well. And I should tell you this, red means you are to stop, amber means you are to prepare to stop, and green means you are to go if the way is clear.
And remember, always wear your seatbelt.
Everyone has the right to freedom of expression, even our children.
My voice matters. Every child has a right to speak up. It's not like they can stay quiet forever, and everything they have to say is important. So that's why I think my voice matters.
At school and at home, every child's voice should matter.
In this school, nobody is more and nobody is less.
My teachers, my parents, they know who I am because they understand me and they know what I understand from what I don't.
I will encourage the students to do their best. I will say that even if they do not get something they want, they might get something even better.
When emotions are close to the surface and we contemplate on life, we will all remember the phrase, "A child shall lead them."
My voice matters.
Farmers are leaders. Farmers are creating employment in their communities and allowing youngsters, allowing persons in Jamaica to be able to see a better life. And it's not easy. It's why we celebrate you. It's why we have a whole month just dedicated to our farmers.
We've reached the end of our program. Get a recap of everything you saw here and more on our website, gis.gov.jm. In the words of Alan Cohen, to make the world a better place, you have to see the world as a better place. I'm Audrey Williams. Bye for now.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.